All right, and everybody can see my screen, right? I assume so. All right. Well, welcome everyone to today's nutrition talk. We are going to be trying to doing one of these the first Friday of the month. So we have a lot of really exciting topics coming up. So I'm glad that you were able to make it today. Today's topic of conversation is from frustration to fuel, turning plateaus into stepping stones. So for those of you that are here live, drop a comment in the chat box if you can access it. And just tell me, do you currently feel like you're at a plateau with your nutrition or fitness? Just to elaborate on that a little bit while you guys are thinking, sometimes when we hear the word plateau, we automatically think like weight loss plateau, but we can also plateau in terms of our fitness, meaning we're stuck picking up the same weights all the time. We want to progress to maybe a heavier weight or maybe more reps. And we're just feeling like no matter what we do, we're just stuck doing the same thing. For me, it's push-ups. I just can't seem to get past a certain number of push-ups. For you, it might be something different. And we know that feeling that like halted feeling can be really frustrating for a lot of people, whether it is your fitness, your nutrition, your weight loss, right? Whatever it is. So this conversation today is to let you know that you can be taking steps and kind of get yourself out of this rough patch, out of your plateau and back to achieving your goals. So today we're going to explore a few of those tips and tricks that will help get you back to those healthy habits. Not that you don't have any healthy habits, right? Because we all have some, but just kind of observe, see what might be slipping through the cracks and see what we might be able to pay a little bit more attention to get things moving in the direction that we want. All right, so at Done, you may or may not be familiar with this framework, but basically we partner with Healthy Steps Nutrition to support our clients that work with us in the nutrition coaching. This is a guided, tested, and proven approach, and we really like it because it goes beyond what you're putting in your mouth and what you're doing at the gym, right? We believe that something as fundamental as nutrition really shouldn't be complicated. And that's why we take this very simple habit-based approach. So when you work with us, you're not, changing everything all at once, turning your whole life upside down, but really starting small and building from there. Healthy Steps Nutrition has helped over 50,000 people all around the world take control of their health. And I know that some of you might be looking to kind of create your own success story, just like the ones that you've seen in the gym at Done. And we know that while some of these things that we ask you to do are simple, they're really far from easy. So with all the misinformation out there and all of the mass information out there regarding the best diets, the best foods, the best exercise programs, it's really no wonder why we all feel so overwhelmed and really sometimes get into a position where we feel like we might need to give up, or our wheels just start turning and then we find ourselves in this place of a plateau, right? Because you feel like you've tried everything and nothing's really working. So let's talk more about what a plateau actually is. The definition of a plateau is a state of little or no change following a period of activity or progress. So plateaus can be a period of about 4 weeks with no signs of progress. So again, if you didn't lose weight this week, that is not a plateau. If it's been 2 weeks, that's still not a plateau, right? We're looking for a consistent 4-week time frame where you're not seeing any results. Then you can call it a plateau. When thinking about fitness, this is typically whenever we're not able to lift past a certain weight or progress in a certain skill, or even feel less fatigued after a workout. So just like I was saying before. And then in terms of nutrition or weight loss, there comes a time for a plateau whenever you can't lose any more weight towards your goals. And there could be other reasons for this too, right? Maybe, and that would be a different workshop, but maybe you are at a good healthy weight for yourself and we need to kind of realign our goals and things like that. But if you are someone who truly does still have some more weight to lose, you could still be in this place of like a plateau. So why does this actually happen? One, your body may have adapted to the amount of calories you've been consuming and the activity that you've been putting in, right? Number two, maybe you've stopped following your nutrition plan, or maybe you're not following your nutrition plan as closely as you were. Or number three, maybe your metabolism has actually slowed and cannot support further weight loss. So we'd have to take a look at that as well. But none of this means that, sucks to be you and you have to stay in this plateau, right? There are things that we can do to move forward. So what does that look like? For some of us, it might be time to get back to the basics. So again, think about what you are doing now. When we've been at this for a little while, it does become a little bit easy to become complacent about certain tasks or habits. Things like going to bed earlier, drinking all of your water, managing your stress, right? As we come in and out of different seasons, all of these things change and we have to adapt with it. So again, a lot of times what we notice is things fall through the cracks. Maybe you're not coming to the gym as often. Maybe you're having more treats than you were, or you're not having as many vegetables. A big thing that we notice, especially as we head into the holiday season, really all year long because summertime too, but alcohol intake, right? Justifying, maybe at the end of the day, it's been a long day, I deserve this glass of wine or this mixed drink or whatever. Or maybe it's just consumed on the weekend. Either way, if you're consuming more alcohol than you were before, it's definitely disrupting your progress. And again, while in moderation, these random indulgences are fine, and we want you to be enjoying these things, right? We want you to be enjoying dessert. We want you to be enjoying a cocktail if that's what you want to be doing. But we do have to evaluate, are we doing more of these things than we really need to be doing? And could those be what's in the way of us moving forward? So now let's dive into 3 things you can actually take a look at to get moving in the direction that you want. So tip number 1 is to kind of take a step back and take a lifestyle audit. This is a great time to revisit your goals and really make sure that the goals that you have are still appropriate for you. Maybe you need to reevaluate and make some adjustments. Maybe it's time to reflect not only on personal things like career, relationships, and growth, but also with your nutrition and fitness routines. And again, we want you to start small and work your way up from there. So while change takes time, it doesn't have to be an all or nothing sort of thing. You can start with a very small, very boring thing that seems like, it's not going to make that big of a difference, or it's not going to make that big of a dent. But believe me, when you get consistent with that thing over time and then you're able to build onto it, things really do change. So take a look at, are you doing the little things? Are you planning your meals? Are you prepping them? Are you setting yourself up for success? Are you drinking water throughout the day? Or are you having more, sugar sweetened beverages? Are you snacking more in between meals? Are you skipping meals or skipping workouts? These are all things to take into consideration. And then I want you to envision your best day. What would you be doing if you were living a fulfilled life that was also promoting your health and wellness goals? So I'm going to take a second and just let that sink in. So I'll be quiet here for a second while you kind of consider what that would look like. And then from there, you might need to give that a little bit more thought, because it is kind of a deep question. But from there, once you figure out what that really looks like, I want you to pick out 1 or 2 things and get started on those, right? Just tackle those 1 or 2 things. And then, like I keep saying, build on from there, okay? So let's talk a little bit more about how to actually do a lifestyle audit. So again, we're going to think about our life as a whole, and what are the major areas that you spend the most time worrying about or wanting to make progress towards? Again, this could obviously be exercise and nutrition, but it could also be something like relationships, finances, things like that, right? So to audit your relationships, I want you to consider all the relationships in your life, right? Your work relationships, your spouse, your children, maybe your parents, right? All of the relationships in your life, and think about which ones of those are serving you and maybe which ones you might need to distance yourself from. So obviously you're not going to, drop your boss and quit your job tomorrow. But maybe there are some things in there that um, conversations tend to be a little bit more negative and you get wrapped up in them and they're not really focused on work at all, right? So you can put a boundary there and kind of distance yourself from those sort of conversations. Again, I know it sounds like something that's maybe not that big of a deal. And how can this correlate with my weight loss or picking up heavier objects in the gym? But it all does work together. When we talk about auditing your career, same sort of thing. Are you doing work that's bringing you joy? Are there areas in your career where you want to grow maybe and take more ownership over? Or are you in a season where work is just work and you're focused more on stuff at home? None of these answers are right or wrong, by the way. It's really just to give you something to consider and something to reflect on. So when we talk about auditing your exercise, I want you to consider, am I enjoying the exercise that I'm partaking in? And again, using my own example, it's not necessarily that you enjoy doing push-ups, but do you enjoy the environment? I hope if you come to Dun Dun, obviously the answer to that is yes, you enjoy your trainers, you enjoy the people around you. Maybe you don't necessarily love the programmed workout for the day for yourself, but you know it's given to you with your best interest at heart, and it's going to help you progress towards your goals. And maybe there's an exercise that you want to try, right? Maybe you want to start coming to a DECA session. Maybe you've been a little bit hesitant, a little bit afraid to join those sessions. Maybe this is your boost to kind of get into that direction. Maybe you are someone who comes to the gym every day, but then the rest of your day is very sedentary. This would be a great invitation and honestly a really great time of year for you to start to consider getting more walks in throughout your day, especially at like a lunch break or maybe after dinner, even though the sun's setting, depending on where you live. Those are two really great times of day to get some movement in outside of whatever we're doing in the gym. Next, take a look at auditing your routines, right? So again, am I carving out time for meal planning each week, or even just am I carving out time for my 3 meals that I should be eating? And am I prioritizing nutrient-dense foods? And then when it comes to auditing your finances, can I focus on sticking to my budget? And how would sticking to my budget benefit me and those around me? So again, things like these kind of all go together, right? Because if you're not spending time planning and prepping your meals, you're probably spending more money going out to dinners, eating foods that you probably don't even enjoy because you're relying more on the convenience factor, right? And so maybe you want to switch the focus a little bit and say, okay, I enjoy going out to dinner with my family, but I would rather go out once a week and enjoy like a nicer, higher caliber meal at a sit down restaurant rather than, 3 or 4 trips to like Chick-fil-A or Chipotle this week. Maybe I'd rather take that money and spend it just once in maybe a nicer restaurant and then help focus on building those relationships while we sit down and have this nice meal, right? So again, all of these can kind of overlap and work together. But by allowing yourself time to do an audit, you'll be able to see a little bit more clearly where you want to be focusing more of your time and attention overall. All right, so next we're going to dive in a little bit deeper to these 4 areas here. So obviously, we talk a lot about nutrition, and Missy has your exercise covered. So let's talk about our stress, sleep, support system, and lifestyle. So again, just consider how would you grade yourself on a system of like A through F. So again, think about when you were in school, obviously an A is doing really well, an F is maybe not. And start to consider how would you grade yourself in terms of stress? How would you grade yourself in terms of sleep? How would you rate your current support system? And how would you rate your current lifestyle? So again, I'll give you a second just to consider that. And then diving into stress a little bit, consider what is causing you the most stress in your life right now. And is there any way we can decrease some of the stress? For some of you, the answer is honestly going to be no. For a lot of us, the knee jerk reaction answer is going to be no, I can't do anything about this thing. But I do encourage you to challenge that initial thought. And again, consider, is there anything that we can shift about this stress in our life, right? Because again, obviously, if it's something like your job or something with a situation with your kids at school, you don't have full control and you can't just like erase that thing out of your life, right? But can you reframe maybe how you think about this thing? Can you reframe your proximity to this thing, right? Maybe you're getting yourself all wrapped up in something that you don't need to be as wrapped up in, right? So just start to consider some of those things and see how we can work differently with the stress in our life instead of allowing it to kind of run you. Because when you are more stressed, your body actually does use up more nutrients more quickly and can put you in a situation where you're nutrient deficient with specific micronutrients, right? So things like magnesium, you can be more deficient in those things if your body's in this chronic state of stress. Moving on to sleep. Everybody thinks they get enough sleep, even if you're getting, 4 or 5 hours of sleep. And it's because, it's always kind of been that way and it's always been enough. So why isn't it enough now, right? Really, the goal needs to be 7 to 8 hours of sleep per night. That is the goal to maintain hormone regulation, blood sugar balance, and really just enough rest for good cognitive function. So if you are someone who functions pretty well on, 5 or less hours of sleep, I would encourage you to kind of inch closer to that 6 or 7 mark as like a minimum baseline and see how you feel in terms of like, are you getting better sleep? Or is it less interrupted? Are you waking up feeling more refreshed? Things like that. So just kind of keep an eye on that. Next is your support system. So again, who are the people in your world that you can lean on for support? For a lot of us, it's obviously your done team, the people that are showing up to their workouts at the same time as you. They can be included in your support system, but also people like our spouses, our children, our parents, people at work, right? Those can all be part of your support system. I talk to a lot of women in our coaching appointments, and they tell me all about how wonderful their husbands are. And then in the next breath, they're saying, and they're always bringing me a treat from, the farmer's market or wherever, Dunkin' Donuts, whatever it is, because that's how one of the ways that they express that they love you, right? They like to bring you a treat. They like to see you happy. But if we can have a conversation with that person who loves us so much and explain to them, I do really love this donut or whatever the treat is from the farmer's market. But I am really trying to cut back on my sweets right now. I'd really appreciate it if you would bring me flowers instead, for example. That way, they're still getting to bring you something. They're still getting to present you with a gift, something that you're going to love, something that you're going to enjoy, but they're not going to be tempting you with something you don't actually want to be having, or accidentally disrupting your progress, right? No one's doing that on purpose, obviously, but having that conversation and kind of, instead of just saying, oh, why did you bring me that? Or please don't do that. I'm trying to be good, right? Kind of reframe it, give them something else that they can give you so that they can still express their love for you in that way. And then lastly, overall, your lifestyle, right? So are you choosing the healthy option more often than not when the opportunity does arise? So again, when you are having meals out, when you are getting cocktails with friends or loved ones, making choices at the grocery store specifically. Are you getting in that intentional movement outside of the gym, right? Taking a look at your life holistically in all of these areas will help you kind of see, again, where you want to kind of narrow your focus and put more of your attention. So again, given all of this information so far, if you can in the chat, kind of consider which area do you think would be most valuable to you right now to dive into. So again, stress, sleep, support system, and lifestyle. Which of those four do you think would make the biggest difference to you right now? Stress. Yeah. That's a big one, unfortunately. Stress and lifestyle, sleep. Yeah. Yeah. So as you can see, the answer is a little bit different for everybody. And that's why, again, I want to reiterate, there is no right or wrong. Some of this content is going to speak directly to you. Some of these slides is going to be like, nah, I'm okay in this area. This doesn't apply to me. And that's okay, right? I want you to leave this session, kind of take what serves you, take what speaks to you, and leave the things that don't, right? Because you'll get information overwhelmed otherwise. All right, so tip number 2, level up your nutrition. So we're going to talk really a lot about fiber and protein specifically. So first of all, skipping meals. We talk a lot about protein and the number of grams of protein we should be aiming towards. I know everybody has a different goal there. I can promise you, as sure as I'm sitting in this chair right now, if you are skipping your breakfast or getting busy at work and skipping your lunch, you are guaranteed not to hit your protein goals for the day. Okay. So sometimes we skip meals, especially breakfast, because we're not hungry in the morning, we're going to the gym, whatever. We skip meals as a habit and we believe that those habits work for us. Sometimes we skip meals, like I mentioned, lunch specifically because we're busy, we're doing things, and it's like, next thing you know, it's 4 or 5 o'clock in the afternoon and you realize, oh, I haven't had lunch today, right? So being very intentional about your time and your schedule and your routine, and really making sure that you are eating 3 meals a day is very, very important. Because again, when you're skipping meals, you're losing out on that opportunity for that extra protein and for the fiber that we need. And these 2 components can really make a difference in terms of turning your plateau around. So protein, we know, is the most satiating macronutrient. It keeps your energy balanced while helping you maintain and fuel your lean body mass, right? So preserving, protecting that lean muscle mass and prioritizing the fat in terms of loss. And then eating enough protein throughout the day can also help with your hunger cravings, boost your metabolism, which can also lead to more weight loss or just maintaining your current weight, right? And really focusing on that body recomposition. Again, this changes from person to person, but in general, it's recommended that you consume around 25 to 30% of your calories from protein alone. So again, your calorie intake is going to be different from person to person, and then that percentage is also going to be different from person to person, but just to give you an idea. All right, and then next, let's take a look at fiber. So fiber is really great for curbing your hunger and keeping you fuller for longer. It can also help with digestion, regular bowel movements, and again, most importantly, regulating blood sugar. It's a common misconception that you only have to worry about your blood sugar if you are a type 1 or type 2 diabetic, or if you're in the like pre-diabetic range. But really being in tune with your blood sugar response and, how you feel before and after meals and in between meals, those are all signals of regulated or dysregulated blood sugar. And everyone, regardless of if they have or are at risk of diabetes, does need to make sure that they are paying attention to and doing things that promote regulated blood sugar responses. So protein and fiber, they both work together kind of like hand in hand. Think of it as building like a fire for your metabolism to run on a well-oiled machine. So protein is important. I know we talk a lot about protein, but fiber is also really, really important as well. Notice I'm not telling you anything to take away. I'm giving you examples of things we want you to focus on putting in. So as we focus on putting more and more on our plate, some of those other things that maybe we don't want to be consuming too much of will naturally fall to the wayside. So again, we want you to start simple and start small to get the ball rolling. So think about little shifts you can make, like maybe for the next week, you focus on increasing your protein intake at breakfast. Or maybe you're someone who's listening to this and you're like, I just need to eat a breakfast. And that is where you start. You start on having breakfast every single day, or as many days this week as you can, until you can get to the point where it's a habit, you're having breakfast every single day. Then once you're at the point where you're having breakfast every single day, you add on top of that, okay, how can I make sure I'm getting, 25 to 35 grams of protein in my breakfast? Now that we're in the habit of having breakfast, now we can add that extra layer of complexity to really make sure that we're serving ourselves and fueling ourselves the best way, right? So instead of jumping from someone who doesn't eat breakfast at all, straight to someone who has breakfast every day, and also that breakfast includes 30 grams of protein, we start small and we build from there, right? So think about yourself and think about, where is it that you can start small? Maybe you want to add another vegetable at dinner, or add a vegetable at dinner 2 to 3 nights per week this week, right? Maybe it is, I want to cook one more meal at home this week, because right now we're eating out 3 or 4 days a week. And I know, given my schedule, I can't replace all of those, but I can replace one. And then maybe next week we replace 2, right? And we build and build and build. All right, tip number 3, get moving and lift heavy. So while getting out of the plateau might take some time, it's really important to identify which action steps are the most realistic and yield the most results. Movement is a key factor in seeing movement on the scale, but also body composition changes and really how you're feeling just in general overall, and especially with your confidence, right? So I heard in the gym a lot, even just today for the couple hours that I was there, like, there's no way this weight's right on my paper, right? Some people were lifting a lot heavier than they thought. And we want that, right? Missy is there. She's very good at her job. She knows what you can and cannot handle. And our job as your coaches are to push you to do those things that maybe you don't believe that you can do. But outside of that, it's really recommended that you get 150 active minutes per week. So if you break that down over 7 days, it's only 20 minutes per day. And again, making it even a little bit more realistic than that, you can break it down into 2 10-minute chunks. So again, 2 10-minute walks, going back to that example. So think about, how are you going to be able to incorporate those 20 minutes? Do you maybe have a dog that needs to be walked? Maybe you have a dog that goes out in the backyard every day, but maybe he would love, or she would love, to be put on a leash and actually taken for a walk around the block. Do you have a friend that would love a phone call from you while you take a walk on your lunch break? Or maybe a family member, right? Everybody should call their mom. Or again, just a general lunch break. Getting outside during lunch can really do wonders for your stress levels, but also for your circadian rhythm and other things. So just being outside in general, and then adding that walk in for extra movement, is going to be really great for you. So again, start small and then build up as you build momentum. And then once you've incorporated some active minutes, then you can start focusing on more weight. So again, that's meant for somebody more who is new to Dun Dun and hasn't come into the gym yet. We would love for you to come and visit us and see what we're all about. For those of you that come regularly to the gym, maybe your focus should be more on adding movement in throughout the rest of your day. But just another quick note on the strength training. Ladies, lifting weights at least 2 times per week is really where you're going to see benefits. At Dun Dun, we have 2 full body days per week and 1 that's more core and upper body focused. But doing this is going to help with bone density as you age. Again, it's going to boost your metabolism. It's going to support healthy muscle mass and make you more insulin resistant. So again, helping you keep that blood sugar stable. And then when you have more muscle, your metabolism also increases. So this allows you to burn more calories just at rest. So again, instead of coming into your workout and looking to see how many calories you've burned during your workout, like you might with a more cardio intensive class, just know that your body is burning more calories beyond your workout. As a matter of fact, research shows that once you've completed a strength training session, your body continues to burn calories for up to 72 hours after that session. So if you're someone that's always looking at your watch for your calorie burn, I want you to go ahead and try your best to ignore that and know that your body is going to be continuing to work for you beyond this 30-minute or 45-minute session. All right, so some of the core principles that we focus on here in terms of your nutrition and health. The first one is focusing on whole foods first. So we always want you to focus on whole foods. We understand that there's a time and a place for convenience, right? But really those convenience foods can have extra fats, extra sugars, extra things that we don't necessarily want as a staple in our diet, right? Again, in a pinch, those things are going to be fine to get you through. But having them every single day, maybe not. Maybe we can shift to something that's more whole foods first. Especially today with everything being what we call green labels or health wash. They put these products in a pretty packaging that looks very clean, very healthy, and it's really no better for you than like a Dorito, right? So here you are thinking you're making this really great decision for yourself, and it's actually not that much better for you, if at all, than the stuff we normally would consider like a junk food, right? Next, we focus on a balance of macronutrients. So macronutrients are carbs, fats, and proteins. And we really want to make sure that for every meal and snack that we're consuming, we're getting one of those, right? We want to always pair at least 2 of those. Best case scenario, you're getting at least all 3 with every meal and snack. Treating your snacks as smaller meals can kind of help with that mindset to kind of get you there. But again, building these balanced plates throughout your day will help keep you more full and satisfied, but can also help keep your energy up, help with that blood sugar regulation, all of that. Yeah, we find that most people feel their best while fueling their busy days with 40% carbs, 30% fat, and 30% protein. Again, that's a general recommendation. So person to person, that's obviously going to vary. But of all your total calories, that's kind of the breakdown that is recommended. And then last but not least, limit the number of processed carbs and sugar, right? So we all know that the average American is consuming way more sugar than what is considered healthy. The average person consumes 150 pounds of sugar annually, which is 46 grams of teaspoon daily, when the recommended allowance is only about 24 grams for women and about 36 grams for men. So women on average are consuming about double what is considered like a healthy amount. So we really want to be mindful. Again, of those packages that we are having, we want to be looking at what are the added sugars in this, right? The example that I always use is pasta sauce. You're never going to find a pasta sauce that has 0 sugar because tomatoes naturally contain sugar, right? But most brands actually add in a ton of extra sugar to make that pasta sauce a little bit more sweet. And so that's what we're looking for. That's what we really want to try to avoid. Because again, it's not surprising, sugar is very, very addicting. And the more we have of it in our diet, the more we go looking for it, right? So cleaning these things up a little bit can really help with your cravings and what you're looking for on your plate in general overall. All right, so as we wrap up, I'd love for you to take a minute or two and just reflect what stood out to you the most. And if you are willing to go ahead and share your takeaways or one takeaway in the chat box. While you guys are working on that, we have a couple of frequently asked questions. So what if you're already doing all of these top tips? You've audited your lifestyle, you're prioritizing your protein and your fiber, you eat all 3 meals, you move throughout the day, you're lifting heavy weights. What do I do now? So for you, if you're listening to this and you're like, yes, that's me, that's why I'm here. For you, it's definitely time to take a deeper dive into your stress or other lifestyle factors. I know we think that one doesn't correlate to the other. It has to be, you know, my number of calories. It has to be, I need to get another workout in. No, that's not always the answer, right? So working directly with someone one-on-one to kind of really go deep into some of these other areas might help you uncover what's actually standing in your way. Stress is a major contributor to the body holding on to fat, right? So if you're someone who is stressed, you might have a higher cortisol level, which again doesn't allow fat to be burned. I know cortisol is a little bit of a hot topic right now. It's not that we don't want to have any cortisol at all. That's not what we're looking for either, but we want to be able to support, you know, regular cortisol levels throughout your day. So take a look at your current stress management tools, right? Again, we can't always just eliminate the stressors in our life, but what are we doing to cope with that stress? For some of us, it is coming to the gym. That's how we manage our stress. For some of us, it is that glass of wine at the end of the day, or sitting down and binging Netflix at the end of the day, right? Those are some of the ways that we unwind or relieve our stress at the end of the day. But think about, is there something more productive that we can be doing? I talk about these all the time, but yoga, breath work, getting outside, these things seem like there's no way that that can be in the way of, you know, losing the next 5 pounds or whatever. But sometimes it really can be. So again, taking a look and kind of uncovering what is it about my stress that can be managed a little bit differently. Okay, the next one. I don't want to keep starting over. What can I do? So you start something, you do really well with it, and the next thing you know, you're like, oh, I got off track. I have to start again. This has to do more with your mindset around making changes. So for you, you're probably someone that has like a start date and an end date to everything that you do. And you are someone who thinks, okay, if I do this challenge and I commit to this 30 days or whatever, I can do this for 30 days. And you go hard for 30 days or 6 weeks or whatever it is. But then when that challenge ends, it's like, now I can start to be a little bit more of myself again, right? And so we want to kind of get through that all or nothing mindset and be a little bit more okay with 80%, right? 80% compliance. and doing it more long term, right? So instead of going totally sugar free from now until Halloween, maybe we commit to having, dessert on Fridays or whatever it is. Just kind of getting out of that all or nothing mindset. It might lead to maybe a little bit slower progress, but your progress will be more sustained and more flatlined overall, more so than losing a bunch and then gaining a couple, and then losing a bunch and then gaining it back. That's not what we want. We want you to feel good more often than not, and we want you to see a trend of weight loss over time. Yeah, so look to see where you can have some of that smaller success. All right, so now that we're at the end, now it's time to invite you to join us in a one-on-one coaching relationship. So again, we've partnered with Healthy Steps Nutrition. They have supported over 45,000 people through their model. So we know that this works. We've seen it in the gym, and we've also seen it worldwide with our partner at HSN. These should all be some very familiar faces to you. Sarah has her wedding coming up this weekend. Stan joined us, I think maybe this time last year. And Wendy's obviously been with us for quite some time now. Each of them have their own very personal story that I'm sure some of you are already familiar with, but if not, let us know. But they've all participated in one-on-one coaching. They all show up to their workouts very regularly, and they've all seen just tremendous progress. So we have 3 available slots for the month of October. And what this would look like is working one-on-one with a coach to find a plan that works specifically for you. So again, this is not a cookie cutter situation where we throw a meal plan at you and wish you luck. This is a situation where you sit down with a coach and we go through all of those pillars and figure out, okay, what is it that you need to be focusing on right now? And you and I come up with that together. I don't assign it to you. We work through that together, and then we create a plan for you to move forward. So if that is something that you're interested in, that obviously comes with weekly check-ins as well. You can scan this QR code here and grab your spot today. All right, so I'll leave that up here for just another minute. And if for some reason you can't get the QR code to work, just let us know and we can go ahead and make sure that you get the link as well. All right, well, thanks so much for spending your Friday with me, or whenever you're watching this recording. If you have any questions, let us know. I'd love to chat more in the gym. But otherwise, I hope you snag your spot, and I'll see you in coaching soon.